Today's world, dominated by global communication and efficient transport systems, the marketplace has opened up and makes importation of foreign products very easy and affordable. Export countries are able to be competitive by utilizing mechanization and automated systems in their arsenal to improve efficiency and reduce cost of production. In developing countries, the opposite is true. Low technology, coupled with traditional practices, and inappropriate field design makes them uncompetitive in the global market. These are the key factors that challenge Caribbean agricultural enterprises. The once lucrative Caribbean citrus industry suffered because it failed to stay competitive. Low cropping densities, intensive labor requirements, and poor field design made local production unsustainable against innovative producers like Brazil, USA, and Belize. The need to stay competitive is what drives progress. Even among the large producers, there is competitiveness and strategies to improve efficiencies.
Well, citrus in Florida has always faced a significant amount of global competition, mainly from Brazil, where the Brazilian industry has historically been able to grow, process, and ship orange juice to Florida maybe as much as 20% cheaper than a Florida grower can do it. The way to combat this or to stay competitive is new technology. That new technology could include higher density plantings, new varieties, new ways of irrigation, new equipment that puts out fertilizer and pesticides more economically, thereby controlling our costs, at the same time enhancing, or at least maintaining, if not enhancing, our yields. Now that we've got citrus greening, we need to, again, new technology is going to be important to keep these trees going, if not eventually finding disease-resistant trees, which is in effect new technology.
Breeding for resistance and evaluating tolerant high-yielding rootstock is critical to improving productivity.
What we're looking at here is a bed of trifoliate, which is this one here is a hybrid. It's called X639. It's a hybrid that was developed in South Africa 40 years ago. Its characteristics are a lot like Clio and Swingle combined. So it's really good combination rootstock that we found. It's very popular, let's say, right now because it's somewhat tolerant to greening. It gets greening just like any other rootstock, but it might handle it a little bit better. It comes in production quicker, depending on what area in the state yard. It's similar to sour in that it has one of those hybrids that can be planted in calcareous to sandier soil, it just like sour orange, you can plant it pretty much anywhere.
Extensive research to improve the genetic qualities to influence tree size, shape, and yield are constantly ongoing. But breeding plants that can tolerate the impact of citrus greening is paramount. Citrus greening is a ticking time bomb that destroys infected trees within a few years.
From what we understand, when greening hits the tree, 40 to 60% of the roots are already gone. So our strategy is going to be to maybe concentrate on more to the root zone than the vegetative, let's call it, spray program. Not that we're going to abandon our spray program, but we feel like that in order to stay in business, we're going to have to really understand what the tree really wants and what it needs to survive greening. And we understand that it takes a lot of roots. So we're putting out as much concentration on the
below the ground as we are the top of the ground these days. So it's a battle. This is a nibble block. Obviously the fruit's already gone.
The battle to sustain the industry is leading researchers to biological control of the insect psyllid as a priority in the offensive to regain production levels and reduce the threat of citrus greening.
Soon we observed this disease in Florida. The one thing that we did was I conducted a 2-year study, and we showed that just naturally occurring biological control agents, especially the species that I showed you today and we photographed, those were the species that were dominant, and we were able to see 90% reduction in psyllid populations just with naturally occurring biological control. So then on top of that, we have released a species-specific parasite in the state. It was originally released in 98, 99, so I did a statewide study in 2006 and 7, and that showed that that parasite was established across the Florida, but the parasitism levels were not very high, so we recommended to augment the populations of that parasite. So we brought in new strains from Pakistan, China, and South Vietnam, and we are releasing all those parasites also. So that definitely is a strong component. We are trying to augment it and trying to conserve it, and that's why we have been promoting the reduced use of insecticide during the growing season, so we can give some room to those beneficial insects to play their role. So definitely there is a scope for that, not only in the conventional citrus system, but also in the organic agriculture where the growers are looking for the very softer chemistries along with the biological control, and also in the residential areas where most of these insecticides and the residents, they are not willing to go and use them.
Environmentally friendly technology is a path being explored to reduce costs and improve efficiency in the face of greening.
Here, especially at our center, we started working on all these components together. So we started working on the vector management. At the same time, we had horticulturist Dr. Bob Rouse. He started working on the nutritional aspect of it. And then we had the economist who started working on the whole system, the economics of it, how much is it going to cost for the insecticide and the nutritional applications and all that. And finally, because these studies take time, I mean, definitely for the greening symptoms to show up, even it takes a year or so to show up in the tree. And once you start talking about managing it and reducing it, it takes time. So it took us about 4 years to do all those applications. And we started in the blocks that were really bad looking. The disease incidence was 80, 90%. And under those conditions, we were able to bring them up to a level where we are able to have production that was equal to the average production in the area. And the economics really played a role in there. The economist, he worked out the whole cost and what was involved there in applying those treatments and getting those yields. And we definitely did see an improvement in the yield in 4th year.
Our salvation has been and will continue to be new technology, trying to produce higher yields, or at least the same yields at cheaper cost or at less cost. So we're looking for new varieties, new rootstocks, new varieties, new planting schemes, new technology in terms of what we saw yesterday in the tree seeds that put out product a little more efficiently, fertilizers that are variable rate fertilizers so that you're putting out fertilizer where it gets the best yield or the best yield advantage. So again, trying to reduce your costs at the same time maintaining, if not enhancing, your overall yields. Complicating this ongoing pressure for new technology has been citrus greening. The trees are under significant pressure. A lot of stress are being brought to these trees because of greening. And so again, more technology is trying to be incorporated into this production scheme. I would say the technology now is reverting more toward horticultural solutions, trying to see if we can feed these trees differently with different nutrients, foliarly, as well as to improve ground fertilizers. So trying to keep infected trees productive for as long as possible. And ultimately, hopefully finding, again, new technology in terms of new varieties. So there could be some plants that show some genetic resistance. So trying to find those trees and propagate them and get them out. Higher density plantings is another area of new technology when we're trying to change the architecture of the trees. Finally, an area that I've been extremely interested in would be mechanical harvesting. All the citrus that you see around you is picked by hand, and if we can find some mechanical machine or mechanical technology to remove these oranges, which are going to the juice processor, so we don't care about how they're beat up a little bit, unlike fresh fruit, that could save a significant amount of money for these growers to help offset some of the production costs that they're having to now face with dealing with citrus greening. So, but yet the mechanical harvesting is sort of a two-edged sword. It may be cheaper to remove oranges, but it does impose an additional stress on the tree. And with greening, the idea is to minimize stress. So this technology has got to be evaluated, especially now in the era of greening, how that tree is ultimately going to be able to handle, say, mechanical harvesting.
Clearly, technology is needed to mitigate production costs and reduce the impact of pests and diseases, which can lead to losses and depression in the sector. Crop losses go beyond the farmer and impacts negatively on the economy and employment.
There's a loss of job as the growers. They have the blocks and the trees. First it was with the citrus canker. The growers had to push a lot of trees. And now with the citrus greening, although they don't have any mandatory requirement to do that like they did for the canker, but they are educated enough through entomologists and the pathologists and the university system that they know that when they have the infected trees, removing trees is one way of taking the inoculum out. When you do that, definitely sometimes it goes from tree to tree, and sometimes it's blocks that you take out, and that definitely affects their economics and ultimately the people that they employ and the people lose jobs. And there was a study recently that showed that Florida lost about 6,000 jobs with greening and with other factors that played a role in citrus.
The resilience of the agricultural sector is a reflection of the determination of the people who drives the industry forward. The passion to overcome hurdles makes the success even sweeter.
Oh, I feel wonderful. It gives me a sense of pride. You know, I planted all this stuff from baby trees, and you know, even this year, we picked this for the first time this year, and but we picked it, and it's nice to be able to pick that fruit from seed to get it, you know, ready to pick. So yeah, it gets a strong sense of pride. I love it. You know, you can see that though. It's a love affair. It's more of a hobby than a love affair. Because we don't make any money. We poor growers are all broke. Yeah, it's a great feeling of accomplishment.
Citrus greening demonstrates that the solution for improved sustainability of any agricultural enterprise has to be a multi-pronged approach that involves the economics of the industry. Increased yields that incur extensive management and inputs may not be sustainable. Efficiency and optimal profitability will guarantee economic sustainability. Agricultural economists should be involved in the production design, along with extensionists and sociologists, to guide the researchers in the development of the technology to be introduced to the agricultural community. The bottom line for the industry is dollars and cents, and all players in the value chain must do their part to reduce inefficiencies and lower the cost of production to remain competitive. We cannot be lethargic. Constant research and technology adoption is the foundation of our success.